Hi everybody. I'm here today to talk to you about the Wendigo, or if you watch Supernatural, the Windigo. So the Wendigo is a supernatural being that has the desire to kill and eat its victims. So the history of the Wendigo is really quite old. The oral history dates back centuries among Algonquin-speaking First Nations people. So this is like a very, very old legend. The first European written accounts happened in about the 17th century, and they were written by a Jesuit missionary that was in the Quebec area. So he had experienced some things with the people that lived there, and he wrote about it. They also can be traced back to western parts of Canada, with the Plains Indigenous people having records of them, as well as the Hudson's Bay Company trade records, which speak about the Wendigo as well. So Hudson's Bay Company was like a trading company, and now it's like a store. So their trade records show stories about the Wendigo, which is really cool. So most of the legends that have anything to do with the Wendigo view it as something that humans transform into because of greed or weakness. If they were like stuck in the wilderness for a very long time and they became very weak and hungry, they could be susceptible to turning into a Wendigo. Another thing was if people had resorted for whatever reason to cannibalism, they believed that they were then open to being like possessed or turning into a Wendigo. So, and the Wendigo is thought to be able to like basically infect entire communities. So the people at that time were very afraid. If one person started acting in this way or doing these things, then potentially the whole community could become affected by it. So it was like a very scary thing for them. So basically, the Wendigo is considered a monster, or in some cases an evil spirit, that kind of travels around and preys on its victims who are weak or having a hard time or greedy, things like that. So depending on which legend you hear, it could be an evil spirit or it's just an actual monster. So there's different versions of the story, obviously, but with each version there's different descriptions. So in some descriptions, the Wendigo is described as being very thin and ash colored, and he has like his skull and bones like stick out through his skin. So that's really creepy. In other versions, he's described as like a giant who just keeps growing and growing as he eats. So he's like consuming humans and just growing and growing. So you can imagine that's like super scary as well for people. In another version, he's more animal-like, so he has like pointy ears like an animal and antlers, he has sunken eyes, sharp teeth, and I believe they say that his eyes glow, and also that he has a very foul odor. So I guess that one would be easy to stay away from, right? You smell him coming. So the Wendigo is also believed to have some superpowers, which makes it even more scary for people. They are believed to have superhuman strength and stamina, which would help them like stalk people and overpower their victims. They are believed to have exceptional eyesight, exceptional hearing, and an exceptional sense of smell. And they are believed to move at the speed of the wind, and also walk across very deep snow or water without sinking. So they can walk across water without falling in. So that version of them being able to walk across water would really go along with the idea that this is a spirit, because you would think like an actual physical monster or creature probably can't walk across water. So so yeah, I guess it kind of depends on which version you hear, but in any version, this is a very terrifying creature that you do not want anywhere near you. So there is supposed to be ways to kill the Wendigo. So in some of the lore, it's believed that you can kill it using a gun or a bat, like you can fight it if you can somehow overpower it. But in others, it's believed that you have to somehow subdue this creature and cut its heart out, which is ice, by the way, and melt it in a fire, and then you've killed it. In other versions, only a shaman can take care of a Wendigo, and they would do this by doing like a special ritual. So yeah, depending on which version of this legend you hear will kind of depend on what you think you have to do to kill it. But in any version, it's scary and probably quite difficult to kill. So not something you want to come across in the woods. In the early, this is kind of interesting to me, in the early 20th century, the term Wendigo kind of made its way into Western medical vocabulary. There was something that they called Wendigo psychosis, which was something that they used to describe a condition in patients where they were suddenly overcome with cannibalistic urges. So they actually started referring to this as Wendigo psychosis and treating people for it. So that's kind of interesting to me. There is some symbolism with the legend. So with all of them, they kind of focus on you're susceptible to turning into Wendigo or being possessed by a Wendigo if you are alone, if you are struggling, if you are greedy, if you're not supporting your community, things like this. So some people believe that this is just a myth. It's just a story to kind of encourage the communities to stick together, to work with each other, to not stray too far by themselves. So, I mean, this is one option, but all of the stories and records kept about different people's experiences with a Wendigo really makes you wonder. In most of these cases, the experiences that they had were with a human being that was believed to be possessed or having turned into a Wendigo. So was it all this psychosis? Were people scaring themselves into having these experiences, or is something like really going on out there? I really have no idea, but I think this is a really interesting legend and definitely something that people should look into and like Google it and like read the stories. They are terrifying. If you want a good scare, then just Google some Wendigo stories and freak yourself right out. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's the information that I have today on the Wendigo, and if you have any questions, as usual, let me know. Otherwise, I will be back on another day with another video about something totally different. Okay, thanks guys, bye.